Joan-Phillip, here we go. We got to talk about this march and the viability that it has, because it is an insanely good march, and it's been sitting right in front of our face for a long time, ever since Phillip came out. But we're going to talk about this march, and it's going to blow your mind what it does and how effective it can be. So stick around as we go through one of the most slept on marches and underrated marches in Rise of Kingdoms. Hey everybody, I'm your boy Warden Chatsky. I put out videos all the time, and when we come across things, we want to pump it out for the community. The discussions start to happen in my Discord. By the way, if you haven't joined my Discord, the link is in the description, and I encourage you to join that community, join the conversation, because this is where we find a lot of this stuff. And if you enjoy these videos, be sure to throw a like on here, consider subscribing. It doesn't cost you anything. And this march, I had to talk about. I had enough. I recently put out my field guides where I had a 5, 6, and 7 march lineup for recommendations, depending on what kind of troops you're running or how many commanders or what different type of troop types. And one of my most common one, when I ran any kind of 3 cavalry setup, I would run Joan-Phillip. That's just what I run. Like, I figured that was something that everybody knew, but it wasn't. I took so much heat for people saying, I can't believe you would bench Nevsky, Joan-Phillip, what is this? Oh my God. And I'm gonna be real honest with everybody. When Phillip first came into the game, as we'll go in here, I did not like the combination with Joan-Phillip. I just didn't like it, because Phillip has the expertise where he fires off an additional active skill of his own 40% of the time, or of the commander he's with 20% of the time. So that's a 60% probability that he's going to fire off a second active skill. Well, we all know Joan. We all know every other active skill she does, she's going to run her main active skill twice. We know that. We've known that for a couple of years now that we've had Joan. And so the thought process was, we're going to be in trouble, because if you use Joan with Phillip, you're going to run so many active skills, you're going to delay your rage cycle. And I didn't really think about that, but it was brought to me by a couple of people who were running Joan-Phillip in an altar, and they were running him in the field, and they were like, Chatsky, like, it's great. So I dove into it more, and I realized something that is probably the most simple thing ever, and everybody has slept on it. Nobody is like using this universally. And the fact is, yes, it definitely stalls out your rage cycle. However, if you're doing active skills every 2 seconds, does that even matter? And the answer is no. And something really, really tricky and funny goes on here, because when you actually delay the rage cycle, sometimes it allows this to be cooled off to where it will run 2 cycles in a row. And I was like, what the hell are we doing? Like, why aren't we using this thing? And so I'm on stream last night, and I'm just messing around, and I'm kind of showing people, because even in stream, people were like, I can't believe you didn't run Nevsky in your 3 cav lineup on your field guide. I just don't understand the Joan-Phillip situation. Well, you have to have viability, right? And Phillip is amazing with Arthur. For you cavalry players that run Arthur Phillip, it's a really common march. It's amazing. It's really good. But William is also good. Plus, William is getting more and more value, because, hey, he's got this as part of his active skill, where he completely negates the kind of the YSG buffs for Chen with this particular debuff that he does from his active skill. So he becomes a little bit more valuable. And I always liked running Arthur with William, because it freed up my Phillip. But now I'm like, hey, why are we running Joan-Phillip? So we go through here, and I'll just show you a clip from last night, and you're gonna see something crazy, just so everybody understands how this dynamic works. We know Joan, we know she runs this proc, okay? We know Phillip, we know he's got a high likelihood, a 60% chance to run an active skill, either of his own or of the commander he's with. He runs that again. So watch what it does. Just watch. This is a clip that I have no gear, no horn, no anything on Joan, no armaments or anything. And look at what this thing does. It's gonna fire off, and it's every 2 seconds. There's Joan, there's Phillip, there's Joan again. Okay, there's Joan again, there's Phillip. Okay, there's Joan again. Then there's Joan again. Like, it is every 2 seconds. This is crazy. Like, what am I looking at here? This is what this march does. It is consistent and constant active skills going crazy. And not only that, they're active skills for commanders that do crazy buffing. Now, we all know Phillip has got one of the best buffs in the game. That's why he's so powerful. Not only is he good for his own march, but he also does the 5 nearby allied troop situation where you take 10% less damage and deal 20% more damage. But Joan also has a little bit of buffing too. People totally forget about this. For the next 3 seconds, 3 allied troops, friendly troops, and this includes your own, deals 5% more damage and gains 20 rage per second for 3 seconds. Like, huh? Like, when you run Joan with Phillip, it is consistent. It is crazy how consistent that is and how much uptime you have on this. Like, holy geez, what are we doing? I even saved a report. And this is, again, no gear, no horn, no armaments, no anything. But I'm going to show you guys something. Once this thing fired off, okay? Once it fired off, you go turn 10. That's Joan. Turn 12 is Phillip. Now watch. Look what happens. Turn 14, turn 16, turn 18, turn 20, turn 22. Turn 24, turn 26, turn 28, turn 30, turn 32, turn 34, turn 36, turn 38, turn 40, turn 42, turn 44. That's 18 active skills in a 35-second period. That is for 35 straight seconds. Joan or Phillip are firing off every 2 seconds. That is insane. That is insane. As somebody that is in the game and that runs this game, and I subscribe to the notion that active skills are everything. Everybody's active skills are so powerful. They're more powerful than gear. They're more powerful than armaments. Hell, they're even more powerful than special inscriptions. The active skills of commanders is what makes commanders work. It's what makes commanders great. And that's why I completely shun the fear in how scared people were to overrage. Like, I don't want to overrage. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen if I put a horn on Luce and he overrages in that second? Or if I run rejuvenate with a commander and he overrages or she overrages in that second? Who gives a shit? Who cares? And so from that standpoint, when you look at this and you go run this thing, it is crazy to see how these work. And so when you have a commander pairing that can give you a funny mechanic to where it can run active skills every 2 seconds for 35 seconds straight, that is the ultimate pinnacle of an effectiveness of commanders, of a march. That's like the ultimate pinnacle. Do you think if we had a situation where BQ could run every 2 seconds with whoever he's with for 35 seconds, it would be broken? We would be standing here saying that needs to be nerfed. That's not working. That needs to be nerfed. Well, we have that, and it's crazy that we do. So what does this mean? It means you can literally run them with wedge. This is like my second cav wedge set. I've got cav everything, but I need to work on this because I don't just want to run and bench some of my arch stuff or delta stuff, and I'm going to run this. I want to run this second skill damage set. But the other part of this is the Echelon. Like, you can literally run this with Echelon, and just so people understand, Echelon is a weird situation because you always think of Echelon for Canyon and Trajan. Some people run it with Phillip, but when you run this, any buffs that you do is multiplied by like 20%. That's basically what 1.2 means, with a maximum increase of up to 5% of their original value. So 20% increase to all the buffs that go on. So that is a 20% increase to Joan. That makes 5%, 6%. And it's a 20% increase to the 20 rage per second. Well, you take 20 rage per second and you increase that to 24 rage per second when you run it with Echelon. You don't even need any special inscriptions or rare inscriptions. That's what that thing can do. In addition to that, this stuff here, where you take 10% less damage and 20% more damage for 5 nearby allied troops, well, all of a sudden, that goes to 12% less damage and 24% more damage. That's just with Echelon. So all of a sudden, this becomes, number one, it's going to do a ton of damage because Joan still has decent damage, 2,000 damage factor to 3 targets, but she's firing that off like constantly. It's wild what this thing does. So just unlock your mind and open it up and let this march sink in. Go try it. Go run it. I didn't know any better. I'm like running it and I'm putting it in my guides for 6 and 7 marches. Anytime I would have, 3 cav marches, I put it in my guides and people were like, what are you doing? And then I realized nobody knows about this march. I can't believe it. Nobody has any clue about this march and what it does. So I have to go show them. And so hopefully this gives you a little bit of guidance on whether or not this is something you want to go run, because you will not be disappointed with this march. The other thing with this, and this is probably the funniest part about this march, she has the support tree. Now, typically you want to run something more like this, where she's getting up into the cap tree, or something like this, where she's got 1 point over here in versatility and she's running up some rage here. And I probably run this strong because you only really need 2 out of 3 on rejuvenate. But look what she does if you go put Cage of Thorns with her. Look what she does. Just so everybody understand what this is. Whenever this commander's troops uses an active skill, up to 5 near it by enemy troops lose 25% march speed for 3 seconds. That is an AoE debuff of march speed, 25%. Like we're loving it when Huo does a march speed reduction. Okay, we're absolutely loving it when we see this, a 50% march speed reduction for 3 seconds. We love that. And we love all that. You guys know how it is. You're chasing down people in the game and they're on your territory and you're chasing them back to their territory. And so when you do that, they can run off and they can get on Alliance territory and run faster and do all that stuff. But now, think about this, guys. This is crazy what this thing does. So when you look at this overall and you're trying to figure out all the different benefits from running active skills every 2 seconds, this might be one of the most broken situations with Cage of Thorns. You're literally putting down a 5 target debuff on the entire murder ball that you're hitting, and you're doing that every 2 seconds. Every 2 seconds. Do you know how much effectiveness there is there? Holy jeez. I'm not saying that this is the talent tree you ought to run with it, but I think you ought to try it. And you will notice that all the marches you're trying to chase down all of a sudden start slowing down, and perpetually, especially when Joan and Phillip are hitting. So just something to think about when it comes to that. So overall, if you've slept on this march, if you haven't even thought about it, try it out. It will blow your mind how well it works and how often the active skills fire off. I'm your boy, War Daddy Chetsky. Hopefully you got some value out of this. And if you wouldn't mind, throw a comment down under the video. I always like to engage with the community. I always like to get engaged with you guys on this. If you have any other ideas that I'm missing out on, let me know. But this march had to be something I put out for everybody. So if you enjoyed it, be sure to like it. If you haven't subscribed, consider doing so. I'm going to get out of here. Hope you guys have a great day, and we will see ya, broskies.